A very warm welcome back, and thank you very much for watching Smart 24 TV. Remember, this is the #1 business channel. We mean business 24 hours, 7 days a week. That's the concept, and we deliver on your business matters. And today we are talking about the fishing industry, an industry that hasn't been actually given enough time. But when you look at the figures, when you look at some of the things that aquaculture, that the fisheries industry is putting to the table, we need to pay a little bit more attention. And I'm talking to Dr. Kafero Ivan. Now, Doctor, I just saw this statistic here and I was really, really shocked. Coffee itself contributes about, yes, 200 million US dollars, but fisheries, the fishing industry in 2019 had about 160 million US dollars worth of exports. When you look at 2018, it was even higher than that, at 170 million, which is coming very close to the coffee and our other chief exports in the country. Now, in your perspective and experience, would like you to share with us what you think the fishing industry is contributing currently to the Ugandan economy. We understand we are living in a time when very many youths are unemployed and are looking for opportunities, aggressively looking for any industry that can give them a chance to make money. What do you think are those opportunities, and what has fishing done to contribute to the economy of Uganda?
Thank you. Fishing as a business, I think, is a very big deal in this country, and you really need to be critical at observing, and then to understand that Uganda is gifted, first of all, with fresh water. When you look at the amount, the lakes that we have, and the wetlands, we really have a very big potential in fish farming or in business to do with aquaculture. This business, one, it is scientific, quite a bit complex, but it's doable. It is easy. In a way that, for example, if you consider our farm, we are on 6 acres, but 3 are in a wetland. But in that wetland, I am now talking about productivity in fish farming. In that wetland of 3 acres, we have 15 ponds of 1,000 square meter each. Now, each 1,000 square meter has a potential of giving you about 3 tons in a year. So 3 tons in a year is normally on the market, that's about, because a ton may go for about between 8 to 10 millions. So we would say minimally 24, maximally 30 millions in a year. So multiply by the number of ponds on 3 acres.
Wow.
When you consider such productivity of such land, you can't get that in any other type of agriculture. On top of that, when you consider the amount of labor that goes in, I would say it is minimal compared to other types of agriculture. So one area like this, as far as the economy is concerned, can be far much more productive compared to other ventures of business. But that is not, as if that is not enough. This is scientific in a nature that it can employ a scope of professionals, right from those who studied fisheries, those who studied veterinary, those who are doing casual labor, those who are in trading, those who are in these people who fly fish on the roads. So one area like that can end up having a trickle effect of employing so many people. So if we could embrace this very much, so many people can benefit from this value chain of fish farming. that can be a very great contribution to the economy. You were talking about the numbers. Why do we have a lot of exports these days? Like when you look at the value of fish. Previously, as I told you, we are so much into capture fisheries. But of recent, we have multinationals that have come to utilize the resources that we have. We have very big farms that have come now that have cages on the lake. They produce tons and tons of fish.
In that space.
In that space.
Yes.
So you may find a space of, let's say, about 10 square meter. Someone is producing almost 30 tons of fish.
Which you can hardly get in the capture fish.
Which you can hardly get in the capture fisheries. And these people are actually producing for export. They produce this with ready market from wherever they came from. So this is now the potential that we have, the potential that it can add on the economy. And when you look at what we're producing versus our potential, we are currently, the potential is actually about 1.5 million tons. When you look at the potential of the fish farming business in Uganda, about 1.5 million tons.
Yeah.
But the maximum we've ever gone is about the World Bank report was about 218,000, and we are the largest producer in East Africa. Yeah? So you look the deficit that is there. So this is a very big potential that can be added on the economy. Imagine we are doing this, and fish is with this limited potential, with limited exploit or usage, but it is being number 2. So imagine if this potential is fully maximized. Would you have any export bigger than fish?
No.
So you see there is a very big potential that this country has in terms of fish farming. The country that produces the most amount of fish is China, but it produces over 17 million tons. Is it 17 or 70, something there? I've forgotten the figure, but it is really huge. So if we can maximize our potential, it will bring a very big impact on our economy. There are a few challenges which we shall share later on, which are still stopping us from utilizing this potential. But even with this underutilization, I can assure you there are so many people that are involved in this business. So many people down there who really are not so much educated, I may say. Someone may just have a pond, put in the fish, and then from a small space, they can be able to earn millions in a year, which could not be the same case with maybe some other type of agriculture. So it is something that is done by people from all scopes of exposure. So it is a really big potential of uplifting the lives of people from poverty to maybe a middle income. But if we can really utilize the potential, there is really a very big potential that it can add on the economy. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Kafero, very interestingly, you have mentioned that we have not yet utilized the full potential of this industry and what we can produce. When you go to most of the islands in Uganda, Kalangala, wherever, they have not adopted most of these modern fish farming methods, which you're saying we can increase the productivity, we can be more efficient in a smaller space. They still go out with their boats, probably because it's what they know traditionally, but also the capital requirements. And you are good enough, you also mentioned that in our first session, the capital requirements. It's a huge challenge. Like you're saying, people find it so expensive to invest in this kind of modern fish farming. What are some of the solutions to this? Should we have government finance farmers, which we know will not come very soon? Or should we have, there are some of the things that we can do actually to bring down the capital investment cost?
When you consider the inputs for aquaculture, there are basically three, if I may categorize. One is the fingering, that is the baby fish, then the feeds and labor. Where the efforts have been of recent is actually with equipping the population with knowledge. As I had told you, it is a little complex business. You need, it's not that straight.
There's a technical bit of
There
it.
is a technical bit of it. So that's where actually government started from. Organize the interested parties, those who have tried to go in. Then they have been going through sessions of giving knowledge and make sure that whoever is interested in going into this business has the right knowledge, at least to start with. There are some people who have their money, but they don't know what to do. So many people have gone into this business, but because they don't have the right knowledge, they have left the first time they've gone in. So one of the capital that we need is the human resource. And that human resource is you getting the right knowledge. Government has tried on that. They have published manuals. They have they have came up with courses in Makerere, in this fisheries in Kajansi.
Yes.
So many members of our cooperatives have acquired that knowledge. They have created groups that can help out anyone, that is to support the fisheries departments. They have tried to make sure that every district has a fisheries officer, the go-to person when you want to enter into that business. So they've really tried, and I commend the government for trying to give people the right knowledge. They have done the publication, they have done the mobilization, so the people's interest has been aroused, and the knowledge, at least the startup knowledge, is there. But now these other two big components, you've gotten the knowledge,
Yes.
the fingering and the feeds. To start with the fingering, we only have two species that are mainly cultured. As I told you, that is tilapia and catfish.
Yes.
But tilapia is a more delicacy to many than catfish.
Tilapia is ngege, and then catfish is
the mali.
a mali.
That normally long.
Yes.
Yes. So many people find tilapia more acceptable, or more of them eat this mali. Not so many people.
Personally, I've never, I think, tasted.
You've never tasted
Yes.
it. There are people who eat them.
Yeah.
But these are technical in producing these fingerings. So there is I
haven't had the Nile perch in there.
Nile perch is not farmed.
Okay, it's not.
It's not farmed.
Okay.
It's mainly, maybe some people are doing some research about it, but its nature is it's a hunter.
Okay.
And it's a long distance hunter, so you may not have enough waters to farm it.
What is it in Uganda?
Emputa.
Okay.
So the emputa, that's why you see them very big when they are fully grown. So you may not be able
to farm them.
But with the tilapia and the catfish, those are easy to farm. But the easiest is actually the tilapia, because that is easy to farm. So I was on the production of the fingerings. It is expensive to produce. And then, on top of that, it is delicate. Someone can easily
kill it.
Not kill it, but can easily give you a wrong species of tilapia, or can give you a wrong type. The most preferred is the one which we call monosex. They go through stages. The monosex is that they give you fish that is not going to reproduce during the time of farming. So many farmers have landed into conmen who have given them fish. You put the fish in the pond, then it's, instead of growing, it starts reproducing. Yes. At the end of the day, you can't achieve a size that is edible. So there are those technicalities that are affecting farmers. So actually for us, that's what pushed us to start producing our own fish, our own fingerings, because we, after making research and getting the right people in the place, we saw that we couldn't suffer these problems anymore. So we went into that, but I can assure you it is quite an expensive business. You find a small fish, like a baby, is at between 200 to 300.
A small fish.
That's fingering.
Yes.
That is about an age of about 1 month, 2 months. But imagine someone who is going to farm about 20,000.
Yeah.
That is, now you multiply by 200, that's about 40 millions.
Yeah.
Just buying the baby fish before buying the feed.
Yes, exactly. Before caging.
Before caging it.
Yeah.
So that is already an investment that is big. So these fingering producers, if they can work hand in hand, maybe with partners or with government, to see that some of these things government can subsidize the prices at that level. If maybe they can work with government and people may be getting, let's say, free fingerings all at a subsidized price, that can be a reduced cost. Then, from fingering, the next one is the feed, which is a very, very big problem.
Someone asked me, there's fish feed that is given as supplementary feeds. Then there's that given as fertilizing feed to help, I think, the fish reproduce. And sometimes people don't really get the difference.
Okay. If I may throw more light on that, there are types of farming are three. There is intensive, extensive, and semi-intensive. Intensive is when you are providing the fish with everything it needs to eat. That is intensive. With semi-intensive, that normally happens in pond. The intensive normally happens in cages. In ponds, you can do either semi-intensive, whereby, let's say, you provide 50% of the feed that is required, and then you set the environment to appear like it's in the wild. You fertilize the water to have some algae, then the fish can feed on that. It's more or less like you feed it half and it looks for the half of the food.
You don't give it 100%.
You don't give it 100%. Then the extensive is like the free range.
Exactly.
Yeah? You leave it in the pond, you fertilize the water, then it feeds itself. The difference is the more intensive, the faster
the growth.
The faster the growth. So if it is fully fed, the intensive, it grows faster. And if it is semi-intensive, the growth rate is a little bit reduced. And if it is extensive, it grows really slow. So those are the differences. So the fish feed is the only source of feed if you are going to do cage. And when you are doing pond, you can decide to only feed them on feed or do semi-intensive. So if you don't have feed, more or less you are not doing aquaculture. Because the feed alone takes about 70% of the production cost. But this is feed that the country majority relies on imported feeds. The big players, the cow dice, which is imported by Kafika, that is one of the biggest company that has provided quality feed, that a farmer feeds the fish and then see results. We have local players here, but they have not yet really taken up the space that is in here. And this, when you look at the cost of the feed, vis-a-vis the cost of fish, you find really someone is not almost making money because of the feed. It wasn't the case before COVID. Like for example, a kilo of feed was going to about 3,500, 3,700. But ever since 2020, the kilo of feed has gone to about 5,500. Now that has eaten into the profits of the farmers. So that's why so many of them have either abandoned or they are now trying out ways of making local feeds to see that they can still get the profits that they were getting before.
What the president was telling us, if we don't have wheat, we can use cassava flour.
So something of that sort.
Yeah.
But the challenge with fish feed, it is science, it's technical. So many people have tried out things and the things are not working. Concoctions. So we really need someone, like we need the private sector or government to come and cover this gap. There is a big gap. The ingredients that go into this feed are not really that complex. Mainly use soya, maize,
and we grow soya beans.
And wheat here. I was one time chatting with the importer of cow dies. They told me they get this feed from Vietnam at about 2,700 per kilo. But when you factor in the logistics and the business, all that, a kilo reaches here now right now it's at 5,000. The taxes, all those things, it's really pushing people out of this business. Yet it is really something that is promising. So if we can get people to invest in this, I can assure you there is a lot. The market is very big. I've told you the potential. Imagine 70% of the cost input for all those tons of fish is feed. So the market is really big. I've had some companies are trying to set up here. I've had government trying to also set up there in Kajansi, but nothing has yet materialized, and so many people are being squeezed by the cost of feeds. This is pushing people out of this business. The cry of every farmer right now is feed, feed, feed. So this is where we really need the support of the government, of the private sector, of all well-wishers, all international bodies that really think they would want to see fish farming booming in Uganda. That's where the biggest problem is. Yes.
Thank you so much. You brought out the picture very well when it comes to feeds and the cost, because that is the biggest challenge, the cost of this venture. But there's a question on the number of people that are investing in this, and as well as the export and food security and food insecurity here in Uganda. Members of Parliament recently tabled a bill in 2020 to allow farmers grow some species of fish for particularly export. And this, of course, was met with a lot of backlash, especially from the public, saying, we still have people here who need fish. Why are you taking all the... There was even a phrase in Uganda that they are taking the flesh and we are eating the bones, right?
Yes.
So the balance between the export and the food consumption here, how is it in your view?
In my view, the species is where the discrepancy is. Most of the Nile perch, that is the importer, is actually being exported. And actually, that's what these guys were advocating for.
Yes.
But when you look at the recommendations of FAO, the food, that's the food
agriculture organization.
Yes. When you look at the recommendations of consumption of fish per capita or for every person, we are consuming far, far, far less as a nation. The 40 million are expected to be consuming over 1 million tons of fish. but we are only growing about 218,000 tons of fish. And surprisingly, majority of this is actually consumed domestically. So if you continue pushing for export, you are creating food insecurity in terms of protein, fish on the locals. Eh? So I would, in my view, I think if we would empower people to eat more of the fish, the farmers wouldn't actually be affected that much. By the time the fish should be exported, we should at least first maximize the local potential, the local market. And I'm sure the local market is there. But the challenge is still with the cost.
Yes.
And this cost is brought about these inputs that we've talked about. It is possible to bring down the kilo of feeds from the 5,000 where it is to about 2,000 if we manufacture that locally. That means even the kilo of fish will have to reduce. Currently, the kilo of fish goes to about 10,000 to 12,000. How many families can afford that? Very few. But if this cost of inputs goes down, that means even the kilo of fish will have to go down. The farmers will get the profits, and the people will be able to have the fish. So I am not. I actually agree with the parliamentarians. We need to make sure that our people eat this fish more. Though we need the foreign currency, but let's first satisfy feed our population. We need the fish. We need the health population. Yeah. So that's my view.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kafero. I'm still enjoying the conversation here on fish farming in Uganda, and I'm talking to Dr. Kafero Ivan. We are going to take another quick return. I want us now to look into the challenges that the farmers are facing and some of the solutions you can suggest. One of the challenges is poor quality feeds. Yes, some of the feeds are there on the market, but they're not of the right quality. The water quality as well. You've talked about our freshwater lakes, but it's changing. Our quality of water is going down because of pollution and so many other things. So how can farmers bypass some of those challenges? Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. We are still talking fish farming with Dr. Kafero, and we'll be right back.